Little engine go, bin go, I'm losing control. Heroin and blow, Marilyn Monroe, overdid the dose. Time to rip pro, up the innuendo, like a window. Little engine go, go.
Good luck, everybody else!
Welcome to episode 2 of Defend This Album. It is going to be an interesting one because this one's actually one of my favorites from this band, and I actually have 2 vinyls for it. I had forgotten I had it, bought it somewhere else, and I was like, oh shit, I got it already. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do a giveaway to let one of my lucky fans have one of the vinyls that I have for this album. And I mean, I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, I wanted to do it on the new Green Day record, but I'm like, yeah, it's a little too soon. I mean, Father of All Motherfuckers, it may come, it may go, I don't know. But with Warning, I chose this one because it's like, you know, people find out what they love from 1039 Smooth, Kerplunk, Dookie's Legendary, obviously, and people have stated that Insomniac's underrated and Nimrod's a good record, which I can disagree with that one. And, you know, after that, it's just been up and down from American Idiot to 21st, the Uno Dos Tre, Revolution Radio, and all this. When people talk about Warning, I think that's the most mixed I see people on a Green Day album, is with this album here. And I'm here to defend it today, to say that it is not one of the worst in their category. It's, to me, one of the best. And basically, I'm just going to give you a couple reasons why people may hate it, and why I like it, and why you should at least give it a try, or a second try, if you haven't already. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get this thing started.
When I say, if I promise go to church on Sunday, will you go with me on Friday night? If you live with me, I'll die for you.
So, I think one of the main reasons people didn't like this record, it's not because it's not punk. There's definitely punk elements throughout this record, but they use a lot more of an acoustic guitar. There's a lot more harmonica solos in here, which usually wouldn't scream punk music, and I can understand that. I mean, there wasn't many tracks on this record I disliked. Hold On was really the only one that I could find, but I think the 2 tracks, at least that I remember, that you could hear the acoustic more often than not is songs like Misery and Macy's Day Parade, where they just kind of like splash out at you. Those are the more softer tracks on the album. But I mean, on other occasions, it really works, and that's on Minority, Warning, Church on Sunday. But yet, like I said, I don't think people realize too that Jason White? I can't remember now. Jason White, I believe is his name. You know, this was his first time he really did anything with the band. I don't think he was credited on the album, but he does do backing guitars throughout this whole record, which gave them more opportunity to use, say, an acoustic guitar in this case. And I just hate the fact that that's what people complain about the most, is, oh, it's too much acoustic guitar, like punk music hasn't used acoustic guitars to its level beforehand. Like, punk rockers don't have that one ballad song or 2 out there. It's like, you know, if that's your main reason, it's like, nah, like, you gotta give me more than one reason than just, oh, acoustic guitar, oh god, harmonica, that's something Beck does. I mean, Green Day's not Beck. It's like, yeah, I know, I understand that, but, you know, there's gotta be other reasons that you dislike this album. Plus the lyrics, Green Day, when they do very well, they do very well lyric writing. Just take a look at all of American Idiot to do that. But most of the time, when they do stuff like this, it's quick, simple, and to the point. Just look at all of Dookie or Insomniac. May not have been the best lyric writing, but you got what was going on, you got the meaning, and basically Hero Morning, that's basically where it's at. Like I said, the lyrics get a little weird, but it's okay. Another reason I think people didn't like this record as much, Green Day get a little bit more political, and I know what you're thinking, well, they're a punk band, wouldn't they be political anyway? I mean, yeah, on occasion back then Green Day was more about singing about, like, love and, like, broken relationships and all that stuff, but this was the year that Bush would be first elected during his first term, and you can tell by a song like Minority that Green Day did not like George Bush, and I guess the Bush followers were like,
No, Green Day is not Republican.
this and that. You know how that could piss off people when, especially Republicans, when you don't vote for the Republican candidate, you're an idiot, this and that and the other. And I just think taking that jab at Bush, not once, but then twice, as they did it again in American Idiot, all throughout that political statement and 21st Century Breakdown, although Obama was in office at that point in time. It's just like, you know, I don't get why you're upset that they're political. Was the whole point of punk music, was to, you know, be political, not give a shit, and all this stuff. So the fact that you're using that as an excuse is a little upsetting, because I get it. They may not like the same person as you do. They may not have voted for the same person as you did. But, you know, that really doesn't give you the right to say, that's why I hate this, that's why I hate that. Like, there's plenty of artists out there whose beliefs I don't agree with. Like, there's a lot of people who, you know, rockers who are Christians and whatever, and this shit, you know, I don't get into that. But I'm not sitting here like, oh, well, because they're Christian, I'm not going to listen to their music anymore. Oh, because they do this or said this, oh, I'm not going to listen to their music anymore. That's not the case. I mean, there is some where they may do something horrible and you don't want to listen to their music ever again. But, you know, in this case, when it's like, you know, people always say, keep the politics out of music and other things, when it's like, well, I mean, music is a platform to express yourself, so you can get political if you want. That's the whole point of music, to write down how you're feeling about certain situations. And I just feel like getting political is one of the better things you can do. Sure, it might divide your crowd for a little while, and you might even lose some fans from, you know, saying some of your beliefs, but it goes back to that whole freedom of speech thing. We're free to believe what we want, or believe who we want, I should say, and vote for who we want. It's not like, you know, it's not like we're forced to vote for whoever, and it's just like, it's also not a good excuse. Oh, they should have kept the politics out of the music. Yeah, well, it's an art form that involves, you know, talking about feelings on certain situations, and in this case, it was that definitely for Green Day, really the first time they really even got political in the first place. But yeah, that would be some of the reasons why people may have disliked it. Now let's go to the reasons why I, myself, personally like this record. So, it was obviously different. I did read in an article that Billy Joe Armstrong was inspired a lot by the likes of like Bob Dylan on this record. And you can definitely see it from like the harmonic elements, also like a Billy Joel type thing, and the more acoustic guitar usage in there. Like I said, it was just a weird mixture of kind of like folk music and punk. If I had to put genres to it, that's what it would be necessarily. But I like the fact that they went out of their comfort zone, because to me, Nimrod was interesting, but it's one of my least favorite Green Day records. I was just never a huge fan of it. It had its moments, but and the experimentation, but I was like, it was too bloated. It had too many songs, in my opinion. One of the most overplayed songs of all time, and Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. When it got to Warning and it was just 12 songs and it was like, here's what we got, it felt right. It was like, this is what you should have did on your last record, experimenting. You should have stuck with one little thing and, you know, kept it at that. And I think it really worked for them. They got some of the catchier hooks that they've had. Not to say they don't write catchy hooks still, or even back before this album, but I mean, a lot of these hooks on Warning really just stick with me and just keep you singing along all throughout. You got your smart-assy songs like Jackass, Warning, Minority, that just really, you know, just punch you right in the gut. And even the acoustic tracks like Misery and Macy's Day Parade, they're nice little tunes that aren't punk, but it shows Green Day's other kind of side, like they hadn't shown that beforehand. Trust me, I went back and listened to 1039 Smooth and Kerplunk, because I knew Dookie, Insomniac, Nimrod, I knew what they all sounded like. And their first two records kind of have those softer tracks on there too, the not so punky tracks, and yet people seem to like those. But all of a sudden they changed this up a little bit now that they're in the mainstream, and it's like, oh, it's different, we shouldn't like this one. And I don't know, I feel like it was some of the best work, by Billy Joe Armstrong. It was some of the best work. Mike Dirnt has some slick bass work on here. And of course, Tré Cool, as per usual. I don't ever think I've been disappointed with Tré Cool and Travis Barker at all. Okay, maybe this Travis Barker with Machine Gun Kelly covering Misery Business thing, that was a bit disappointing. Not because Travis Barker sucked, he didn't suck, but I don't know why he would do that. Ruin a good song. That's in the past already. We talked about Blink-182 in our last video, so yeah, that's basically why I like it in this case. It just takes risks, catchy hooks, and just overall just not giving a fuck, trying different things, trying out one certain inspiration, applying it all to one 12-track album, and doing what the previous record probably should have done.
Green Day's not Republican.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. This was a weird record for Green Day back when it came out because, no offense to Warped Tour, but they were playing Warped Tour, started playing Warped Tour around this time, and it's like, usually when you start out at Warped Tour, you're this smaller band, and then all of a sudden you hit big, you play there a couple more years, and then you probably never go back there again. Green Day was in like the height of their career going into the 2000s. This record came out and they were subjected to playing Warped Tour. Not that they didn't beforehand, but it's like at this point in time, after Dookie came out 6 years ago, they should have like been out of Warped Tour in like 1998, just because that's what you do, or at least that's what you see all the time, is like I said, these bands that used to do Warped Tour would do something different, or they would get bigger, and they're like, oh, I don't know if this Warped Tour thing is really something that we can do anymore. I mean, just look at Bring Me the Horizon, Asking Alexandria, Paramore, Panic at the Disco. Look at all these pop-punk bands back in the day that used to do Warped Tour that didn't for a certain amount of time. Obviously, they're not going to do it now because it's not a thing, but after they all kind of hit it big, they just didn't go back to Warped Tour. They may have done it a year or two after their big like breakthrough, but never were like, oh, we're going to do this forever. So that's kind of what Green Day should have been at, but they weren't, and it led to them taking a long break and eventually coming back and reinventing their careers with American Idiot, which is my favorite album of all time. But anyway, that does it for this episode of Defending This Album. You can tell me in the comments below, what do you think of this album? Is it really an underrated Green Day gem? What are some of your favorite songs on here? Or maybe you can counteract my argument, say, hey, I can see where you're coming from, but here's why I dislike this record, or here's why people may dislike this record. And tell me what you like about the record, because we might like the same thing. There might be something different about it that you like, this and that or the other, but I can tell you our opinions differ, and that is okay. But yeah, until then, guys, stay safe, wash your damn hands, and I will catch you all in the next one.
Go.
Green Day's not Republican.